Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Walking Dead Now Dead Talk Live. And I am very, very excited tonight because we do have a very special guest with us tonight. This guest tonight is what I call basically the human version of the entertainment Wikipedia. This person is knowledgeable and has the inside beat on everything that's going on with movies and TV shows together. So we are very lucky to have this person on with us. I will bring you up his information right now. And before we get to that, I just want to make a quick announcement. Yesterday I announced that we are coming out with a podcast. So I just want to give you an update on what's going on with that. We're waiting for the podcast to be approved by Apple. And I still also need to upload the rest of our videos. As you can imagine, we have a lot of them. It's going to take a little bit of time. So just wanted to update you on the podcast situation. So our guest tonight is a lifelong friend of mine, mentor, and everything else. His name is Marko. His information is on the screen. If you guys want to follow him afterwards, I would really suggest you take a screenshot of what we have up right now, because that's probably not a name you're going to remember. So take a quick screenshot and you guys can go check out his Instagram profile after we're done. So without further ado, I want to welcome Marko Vizaniaris onto the show. How are you doing, Marko?
Hey everybody, how are you? I hope everybody's having a nice, quiet evening and everyone's staying healthy and safe. And I'm very excited to be here. I'm actually really looking forward to, talking about Walking Dead and everything else that you guys have on your mind.
Well, we are very, very lucky to have you. So, we're going to talk a little bit about everything tonight, from The Walking Dead to horror movies, TV movies, just a whole bag of everything. I don't think the hour limit that Instagram gives us is going to be enough. So I pretty much guarantee you we're going to be bringing you back on this show. But I do want to ask you, just starting off, as I ask everybody, what are your thoughts up to where we are now in the show? What are your thoughts on the current season of The Walking Dead?
Well, I think the season has given us a lot of ups and downs. It's given us a lot of curveballs. I'm very, very happy and glad that Angela Kang, Scott Gimple, and Gale and Hurd, the producers, casted Samantha Morton and Ryan Hurst to give us Alpha and Beta. I've been a fan of Ryan Hurst since I saw him in Sons of Anarchy, and he's phenomenal. And Samantha Morton is a two-time Academy Award nominee, and she's just brilliant. And in a way, as much as I hated her, I loved her. And I actually was one of the few fans that was sad to see her go, because we got to see a little bit of a backstory of her. We got to see that she was conflicted being a mother and also trying to get a grasp of what this world is giving us. So that was very sad for me to see her go. But the season's been great. I love the way they closed the chapter on Michonne. I love how Daryl and Carol are finally connecting again. And I also love the fact that it gave us characters such as Eugene and Father Gabriel, who were backstories for seasons, actually come as heroes and actually show us that they can be leaders. So that was so the season so far has been amazing. I'm very disappointed, obviously, that we have to wait a while until we see the finale, but I know once we see it, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about. So, yes, it's been great so far.
Yeah, and you know what? I was thinking about this today. We are all so hyped up to see this finale, and this pause that we have until we see it, whenever that is. I wonder if, no matter how great of an episode they give us, if just this hype of waiting and it just being built up in us and the anticipation, if no matter how good of an episode they give us, we're just going to be just a little bit disappointed. And I really hope that doesn't happen.
You're right, John. That is a possibility. But, that's what makes this industry so great. Opinions are wonderful, and there's certain, like, for example, I'm going to deflect a little bit. I'm sure that you're all Game of Thrones fans out there as well. That was one of the finales that we were all anticipating. I personally loved the end of Game of Thrones. I thought it gave us closure. The characters that we were rooting for actually came on top. So, and other fans were like, no, that's not how it should be. It's so short. They should go back and refilm it. You're never going to please anybody, but that's what shows are. And I think that whatever comes back and whatever we see, I think the majority of Walking Dead fans are going to walk away with a great finale. So let's just anticipate the finale, and whenever it comes, and we'll sit back and have a conversation a couple of months from now.
I totally agree. You know, the diehard fans, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay with the show. They stay through the bad times, the watching their favorite characters die, and the second half of this season, the B part, it's just been amazing. And I would think that a lot of people that stopped watching the show, you know, after Negan came on and killed Glenn and killed Abraham and Carl died, where I know personally a lot of people just stopped watching it. I think if they were to come back and just watch this season, and especially the second half of this season, the viewership would just skyrocket again.
I agree. And what's interesting about villains is we have to humanize a villain in order for us to feel remorse for their death or for their second upcoming, as I should say. Like, I remember you talk in your previous shows about the governor being the worst evil character. I agree with you. The governor was very evil, but we did have that 2-episode arc where we saw Philip with his family and how he met I believe it was a young lady with her daughter, and I think that was the season that we actually got introduced to Tara, who was one of my favorite people, who actually got to meet a lot of Masterson in person, and she was fantastic, but that's for another time. But, so we do humanize him, and I think that Michonne had to be the person to kill him, had to be the person to put him down. But we also know that at some point, yes, he's a villain. He's going to go. I agree with you when it comes to season 7. Season 7 devastated me when Negan came on. We knew Negan was coming. We knew he was going to be a villain. We knew from the comics and from the graphic novels what he was going to do. But I personally, right now, he's one of my favorite characters because, again, a villain has to be redeemed in order for humanity. It's forgiveness, and that's how humanity works regardless.
Exactly.
So, I'm looking,
Yeah, and the transformation that he went through while they had him, you know, behind bars. I mean, it didn't happen as soon as he went to jail. I mean, we saw in the beginning of season 9 when he was locked up, and basically Rick was the only person who was coming down to talk to him. I mean, he was still egging Rick on, telling him that this world is mine, you're just building it for me. I mean, it took 6 years of him being in that cell to really transform himself. And I think Judith talking to him and him being honest with Judith, I think that also helped him get his humanity back. And I agree with you.
Judith and Carl.
Yeah, I agree with you that, you know, he's one of my favorite top characters right now, if not my favorite. You know, Daryl, Negan, Carol, I love them all. And Negan, you know, you see now why they kept him alive. You know, why didn't Rick kill him? Because in the comic books, as they're doing in the TV show, he plays a vital role in the show and in the comic books from this point on forward.
Yeah, I agree. I have 2 questions for your fans that I think they might be interested. Were you all shocked that Dante turned out to be a walker? I'm sorry, a walker. I take that back. A whisperer?
I was. I did not see
that. I was too.
Coming. I did not see that coming.
And the thing is, and what's funny about that is, I actually liked him. He was funny. He had a personality. He kind of was very close to Sadiq and made Sadiq realize what his relationship with Rosita and I think Coco's the baby's name, has to be done.
Yes.
So that was a shock to me that he actually turned out to be a whisperer. And another shock to me was how Father Gabriel, you know, spoke up. He took him out. He's like, you know what, we can't have you do that.
Exactly.
It was Father Gabriel. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
so
Gabriel.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but Gabriel is just, I think, the character who had the biggest transformation from the moment we met him and being the coward who locked his parishioners out of the church as they were being slaughtered,
Questioning
and
his faith.
exactly, and then going to Alexandria, and the first thing he does in Alexandria is go to Deanna and try to tell her that Rick is evil. He's the devil reincarnate, and then to have him found out, then to gain the trust back of the group and Rick, and to be the character that he is now is just an amazing arc that he's been through. And sadly, though, I don't see him making it through this finale. I think he's the one person that we are going to lose in the finale.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you there too. I think the finale is going to take a beloved character from us, and I again, we just have to kind of see what it is, and we'll all mourn together like we do every day. Every day.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so I totally agree with you as well too. But I do agree with you earlier with what you said about season 7. I loved the first. I was introduced to Walking Dead from a different aspect. I wasn't aware of the comics. The comics were introduced to me by a family member, my cousin Jimmy, who him and I grew up together. And, we're both comic geeks and Star Wars fans and horror fans. And he told me about this comic book series called The Walking Dead. And I never knew about it. And then I had heard that the series was coming out on AMC. And unfortunately, AMC was not the first choice for the show because it was passed up by HBO, it was passed up by TBS, it was passed up by a lot of networks before AMC took it on.
Wow,
and
sure.
He had showed me.
Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. And what happened was he had shown me the first set of graphic novels that was actually turned into like a sort of like a semi-hardcover book, and it chronicles the first episode when Rick gets shot up to the point where the gang shows up at the prison, and I was overwhelmed and amazed by how great this series was. I think I finished that book in about a day or so. So on October 1st of 2010, I was excited to sit back at 9 o'clock at night and watch the premiere, and it did not disappoint. From the moment it started to the moment it went in. And what was great about it is that the casting of the show was spot on. From Andrew Lincoln and, Sarah Wayne Callies and everybody. I mean, it was just spot on. They've had this incredible 10-year span of fans, and I know that I went to Comic-Con in 2009 in New York here. That was the last time I went, and I was able to kind of walk around Comic-Con and see the celebrities and see the insights and so forth. But once Walking Dead premiered in 2010, and it premiered that night at Comic-Con, you could not get tickets moving forward. So I know that a show like that is going to leave us with a massive impact in pop culture, and I hope that's why we've seen Fear the Walking Dead, and then the new series coming out, and the Rick Grimes movie. This will continue on until fans are enough, but I don't think fans are ever going to say enough.
No, I totally agree. And you know what you said about AMC not being the first choice, that's the first time I'm ever hearing that. Yeah, I did not know that. A
lot of networks are.
Yeah, can you imagine HBO? Can you imagine HBO having The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones at the same time?
Yeah. And John, what was interesting about it was when the pilot was filmed, they were AMC didn't, how can I explain this? They didn't censor the show. They were fine with the violence that they premiered in the episode. So they gave the producers a little bit of a leeway to kind of be a little violent, because remember, it is a cable show, so it's not like everybody can tune into it to watch it. But it was massive. I'm sure HBO, Game of Thrones didn't do that bad for HBO, but I'm sure they would have not minded a couple more $1 billion in their pockets.
No, I'm sure they're. Yeah, the idea of just Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, being on HBO at the same time is just mind-boggling. Yeah. And I'm sure HBO is kicking themselves for letting that one go.
Yeah.
So let's flip over to these movies. Now, what do you know about the movies? I know the last I checked, they were in pre-production, and I assume with the state of the world right now, with the pandemic going on, when they're actually going to start shooting that first scene is unknown. Am I right?
For Walking Dead?
The movies, the Rick Grimes movies.
Well, that absolutely. That's up in the air. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if AMC scratches it for now, and let the series end. I believe, from what I heard, that Walking Dead is going to ride 2 more seasons, so season 12. So we'll have it to at least 2022, and then I wouldn't be surprised if they do it after that. But I don't know. That's a very good question. With what's going on here, everything is, everything's being pushed. Nothing's being produced, unfortunately. So who knows when that'll happen. I know that Walking Dead, the finale is done, but they need to edit it. I think that's what the issue was. They did film it. Right. So that's done. It's just a matter of them waiting for us to kind of premiere it. I have a feeling they'll probably premiere it the weekend before Fear the Walking Dead comes out, which I think comes out in July.
I hope so. I just want to say hello to everybody who's waving at us. I see your messages. I want to say hello to everybody. Yep, we all watching your comments, and we just want to, this is a socially interactive show. I just want to say hello to everybody. Now, you mentioned AMC and the Rick Grimes movies. I don't know if you know this or not, but, originally after the Rick's final episode aired and they had Scott Gimple on The Talking Dead, he said that they're making 3 Rick Grimes movies, all for AMC on the small screen. But that has changed, and I don't know if you know this, but Universal bought the rights, and it is no longer going to be released to TV. It is going to be released to the big screen.
Wow, to the screen. That's amazing.
The Walking Dead Rick Grimes movies are no longer going to be on the small screen. They're going to make us pay the money to go to the theater, but that's money I will gladly pay for and go watch the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know how they worked it out. I know there's lawsuits going on right now between like Gale and Hurd and the other producers against AMC. That's a whole legal mess. I don't even fully understand it. But somehow, way, Universal Studios got in there and they bought the rights to the Rick Grimes movies. So the Rick Grimes movies are not going to be released to AMC. They are going to be released as a big time movie in the theaters. So that's very interesting.
That is very interesting. It's it's going to be incredible. So,
now,
I have this. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, well, basically, what I was going to ask you is regarding how the movie's going. So I want to hear your point first. What were you going to say?
What I was going to say now? Well, I was going to kind of deflect the question a little bit, still sticking to Walking Dead. With every great show, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. At this point, 10 seasons in, I don't really care about how the virus started, because that's one of the great things about this show is that everybody can speculate as far as how it did. Now, if you were the producer, if you were Scott Gimple and Angela Kang, and you're sitting down on the 12th season and you're going to end this show, how would you end the show? Like, do you show the fans, what caused it, or what would you do if you were the big producer? No, I know it's a tough question because
Well, let's go to how Kirkman ended the comics. Kirkman ended the comics basically with Rick being shot and killed by the Commonwealth. And then literally the next page, it takes a time jump decades into the future. And it's Carl sitting in the front of his house on the porch with his daughter, telling his daughter stories about her grandfather, Rick. And Carl's an old man. He is the one that makes it from the beginning to the end in the comic books. He's the last man standing. I know Michonne's also alive in the comic books in the end as well. But that's how they ended it in the comic books. Now, how do we end it in the TV show? Obviously, you can't do it the same way. Rick is gone. There are rumors possibly of bringing him back for the series finale. But that really all depends on how they're planning on doing this trilogy in the movies. Is the trilogy going to take place in the missing 6 years that we have from the time Rick blew up that bridge to when the show picked up the next scene 6 years later? Are we going to find out what happened? I'm sure we are to some degree.
Yeah.
But do you think that the trilogy is going to all be about those missing 6 years, And if we go to the current timeline of where the Walking Dead show is now, that Rick is dead.
I think the first two parts of the trilogy will probably fill in that 6-year gap. Because we want to know what happened to Jadis as well. We want to know why she chose him and why he wasn't an alpha and he was a beta. No, we want to know who this group is in with the helicopter and so forth. So yes, but I think the third chapter, if they're smart, depending on how the show ends, it will be great for us to see him reunite with whoever is still alive and whoever's still, in his family, whether it is Daryl or Carol or Rosita or Father Gabriel or anyone else, his daughter Judith. So yes, I do think the first two should be within the missing gap, but I think the last one should take us to the same time era that the show is currently on.
So you think they're going to end it like, Michonne's last episode, she went off because Judith told her to go find the brave man, which is Rick. So that left the door open, and I really think it's a good possibility we're going to see Michonne, but if we do see Michonne in the movies, it won't be till the third one. And I think somehow in the third movie, this, depending on how they write it, how it goes, I think Michonne does come across Rick. And do they end their story together on the movies? Do they end Rick's story in the series finale? As you said, at the end of season 12.
Does he have amnesia? Yeah. Does he know who he is at this point? Does he know? Does he want to be part of the family? He's been gone for a long time. So there's a lot of great stories that the producers and writers can come up with. But I think whatever is going to come out of it is going to be incredible and intense. Now, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, what a great finale would be for me would be if for some reason, let's say, a random character is killed on the show. Wouldn't it be great that they don't turn and maybe the virus is done?
That would be amazing.
And then, so the threat and possibility of the walkers is not an issue anymore. So, for example, if you die, you would actually die and not come back. Because then with that, as we're watching the series, we're noticing that the walkers they're rotting and decaying. They're actually becoming walking bones and walking skeletons.
Yes.
So at some point, they will evolve into nothing. Like they did with a lot of other horror movies that we've seen in the past. They did that, I think, with 28 Days Later. Danny Boyle did that, where the virus actually starved the zombie, quote unquote, to death.
Yes.
I think, in my opinion, that would be a great ending where we don't see anybody come back from the dead. And then that's we know that the virus is gone. And then civilization can start all over again.
Yeah, because now...
That would be a great finale to me.
That would be an amazing finale. And you know what? It would leave us with the hope that after everything they went, we started with the beginning of the apocalypse, and if the virus somehow just disappears and people die and they stay dead and they end the show, how amazing would that be, leaving us with the idea and the thought that, you know what?
That humanity is actually back.
They're going to make it. They're going to make it. These people lived through it. Yeah. The ones that made it to the end survived, and they are the ones who are going to rebuild the world. That would be absolutely phenomenal. That never even crossed my mind, but man, that would be such a phenomenal ending. And I want to, ask my guests, I mean, what do you guys think about that? If you like that idea, give me a big thumbs up. That at the end of the show, at the finale, the last episode we're going to see of The Walking Dead on TV, that the virus that's been making people come back from the dead is gone. I mean, would that leave you satisfied, knowing that's the end of The Walking Dead? So if you like that, please give me a big thumbs up. And that would be amazing to see. And I'm just thrilled I'm just overly excited to see how they're going to end. Are they going to end Rick's story? Is Rick and Michonne going to die together in some heroic fashion? And here's another thing that keeps coming back into my mind. Well, first of all, we know that wherever Rick was taken after he blew up that bridge and when he got back to good health because he was on the verge of bleeding to death, I mean, you got to just imagine what were the circumstances to keep him away from coming back to Alexandria and to be coming back to Michonne and to Judith. He might have been kept prisoner for a little while, but I doubt he was a prisoner the whole time. The whole time he's been away. So we know, at least we can infer, that he came across a situation that he felt was so dire that needed him for the sake of humanity, that just outweighed him wanting to go back to his family, wanting to go back to Michonne, wanting to go back to Judith. And I want to hear, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree.
You
Yes,
know,
because when your family, he was, Michonne and Daryl and Carol and everybody, that was his family, and you're going to do whatever you can to get back to your family and your loved ones. So absolutely, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
did he try to, did Jadis play a part in the role? Like, where is she? What's her role in this? And because I actually liked her character, I thought she redeemed herself after the whole Negan story was over. But we found out that she was actually conspiring with this group, and that's a great story that the two of them actually left the series together. So that always opens up a possibility for her to come in and see what happened to her character.
Exactly. And I wonder how prominent she's actually going to be in the movies. Is she going to be in the first movie? Is she going to die halfway through the first movie? Or is she going to be part of the whole trilogy? We just don't know.
Right.
And it'll be very interesting to find out. I mean, they have so many directions they can go with this thing. The possibilities are endless.
John, who was your worst death character from the whole series? I know you've been asked this 100 times, but
yeah,
I want to get your opinion.
I've been asked this, and I've asked this question, and like, who do I miss the most, or which death?
No, like out of all the characters that passed away or got killed in the show, who do you think was the most brutal death?
That's very
that you
easy.
Actually turned your eyes away from the screen for a second.
That's very easy. In my opinion, throughout the whole series, the one person who suffered the most brutal death, even worse than Glenn, even worse than Abraham, was Noah.
Oh my God, I agree. I was going to say the same thing.
Noah getting eaten alive in front of Glenn was just horrific. It was just horrific, and he died because Nicholas was a coward. And
I agree.
Glenn was telling him, just stay put, hold the door. And the first opportunity that Nicholas got to slide through that rotating door, he did it, and it cost Noah his life. That is by far the most horrific death on the show for me. I mean, absolutely. Now, which character do I miss the most? Which character do I believe could have not been written to die off is Abraham. And the reason why I think they killed Abraham was to throw us off for the first half of that episode, to make us believe that Glenn was going to be spared. Because in the comic books, Negan kills Glenn on that field that night. So I think in the show, they wrote it that way, and he killed Abraham first. He's the one that Negan picked to pay the price for what they did. And at least for me, I breathed a tragic breath of relief, because I really thought that Glenn was going to be spared. And then when Daryl took a swing at Negan, and Negan just turns around and whacks Glenn, my heart just sank. And everybody's.
And it's funny because I had the pleasure of meeting Michael Krudlitz twice.
Really?
And he is the nicest guy in the world. Very nice. He's not as intimidating as you see him in person. But we actually had that conversation, and he knew from half a season prior to that he was leaving the show and the premiere. So he wasn't all that. Yeah, so he knew about it. But very, very nice man. I mean, and John, you know this. I work in the hotel business, so I get to meet a lot of these Walking Dead celebrities and so forth. And when I was a couple of years ago, they were all at Comic-Con, so I got the pleasure of meeting Melissa McBride and Alana Masterson, Robert Kirkman, Gale and Hurd. So I had my own little private Comic-Con at work, which was really, really nice. So, yeah, it's nice when you watch these people on TV that you admire, and then when you meet them in person, that they're actually just as humble and just as nice as they really are. That's a very nice feeling. So God bless them for staying, grounded.
That's amazing. But you bring up Gale and Hurd, and I don't know if you remember, you and I, a very, very long time ago, way before The Walking Dead, we met her together at the Fangoria horror convention.
Yes,
So
we did.
guys,
Yes, we
so
did.
you guys out
Yes.
there, the younger crowd out there, the
Yep.
horror magazine Fangoria used to be what Comic Con is today, and they would go around hosting horror conventions all around the country. And we would actually we traveled to different cities to see them. And when they ever came to New York, our hometown, we would always go, and we got to meet
A lot of
Pinhead.
fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
we got to
Yep.
meet Pinhead, Gale and
Adrian
Hurd,
King. Adrian King from Friday the
oh,
13th. Robert Englund. We
Clive
got to meet
Barker.
Angus Scrimm, who played
Now,
the tall man. Clive Barker. Yes, great. A
Cli-
lot of fun.
Clive Barker, the author of Nightbreed, Hellraiser. I mean, he's a British guy. If you guys don't know Clive Barker, please look him up after this show. And hearing him speak, to us, he has the most twistic, sadistic, but yet genius brain as a writer. And that's why, like movies like Hellraiser are so popular. It's because he thought of that idea. He came up with that. So just going back a little bit on memory lane there on all those horror conventions and all the brilliant actors and producers. And, we met Gale and Hurd. We met Gale and Hurd, a long, long time ago, long before the The Walking Dead was ever even a concept. So that
Yes,
was
she
amazing.
produced Aliens, and she produced a lot of huge films in the '80s. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
a lot of people don't realize how long uh, of a time these people have been around, like Greg Nicotero and Gale Ann Hurd. They've been in this business
Tom
for a long
Savini, who's
Tom
brilliant.
Savini,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, these people have been
yeah,
in the business for a long, long time,
yeah,
and I'm glad they're getting the really big, big recognition now
yeah.
that they're getting on The Walking Dead that they deserve.
Yeah, Greg Nicotero played one of the soldiers in Day of the Dead back in 1985. So he's
Yeah,
young. If you ever
yeah,
if you ever tune in, he's got no long hair. He has no mustache. He looks like a young man. You never recognize him.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
if huge zombie fan, please. That's also one of my favorite movies of all time. And I remember being a 12-year-old boy, and I remember my cousin Jimmy and his mom took myself to see Dawn of the Dead back in the theaters. Again, I'm aging myself, so I apologize for you young kids out there. But I walked out of that theater terrified because I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
And fortunately for our family, we do have family in Pittsburgh, so I got to go to Monroeville Mall and actually be in there. And I was just felt so overwhelmed to be in a landmark. And people from all over the country now go to that mall and they take pictures of the outside and the inside, and because it's such a huge it's a landmark. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and for
But
those
yeah,
of our viewers who don't know, that mall that Marco is talking about is the mall where Dawn of the Dead, the original one, was filmed in. It is in
yes. I'm
Pittsburgh.
sorry. I didn't.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
of George Romero's movies, I believe, were shot in Pittsburgh. Am I correct?
that's correct.
Yeah,
Yep, that's
yeah,
correct. He's a Pittsburgh native, and I actually shed a tear when he passed away a few years ago.
yes.
Because I don't feel there's going to be anyone like him to come, in our lifetime to produce such great iconic films. But I hope that he left a mark for younger filmmakers and writers to come up with great concepts. And I personally like the slower zombies that come back from the dead. Not that I didn't love 28 Days Later and I didn't love World War Z, but that's a different
Yeah,
it's a different film. I didn't grow up in that. But
yeah,
I'm not
and
saying that the films were not wonderful. I mean, they're great, but I'm from that generation. And then the other day I was watching Night of the Living Dead. It was just on, and watching that movie for 50 years later, it's still timeless. It's still scary, and it's
exactly.
even though there's no makeup on the actors, it's so the music and the fact that they had an African American leading man with a white woman as their protagonist and it was just incredible back then. Again,
Exactly.
George Romero did that, and yeah,
Yeah.
and he
He was a
crossed lines.
pioneer. He was a pioneer. And I think I
Yeah,
told you this
absolutely.
before. If you look at the original Night of the Living Dead, as compared to other black and white movies during that time, even 20 years before that time, black and white, the film quality of Night of the Living Dead is really
Yeah,
crappy. I
yeah,
mean,
it is.
you could tell it was a very low budget movie, and
Yeah,
even
yeah,
the quality of the film is so crappy but the idea was so brilliant, and George Romero was just such a
Yeah,
pioneer that
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie is just forever going to be a classic. Forever.
yeah, yeah,
Forever.
yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
absolutely.
It's going to be one
And
of those horror movies that's going to stay in that and The Exorcist and um, you know the original Friday the 13th, and I'm assuming it's just going to stay in your mind. It's never ever going to kind of never not be a classic. I
exactly,
agree.
exactly. And what you brought up earlier about what I call the rage zombies against the snail zombies. There are two different
I
types.
like
The
snails.
one, yeah, the ones that just run up to you and can overwhelm you in a split second, like in the show
Hmm.
Black Summer and World War
Hmm.
Z and 28 Days Later. And then you have the snail zombies, like on The Walking Dead, the original Night of the Living Dead, and so on. Personally, for me, if I had to pick which situation I would want to be in, I would definitely pick the snail zombies,
Oh, of
because
course.
yeah, because I can't run for crap and I'm going to be gone. I won't make it. At least with the snail zombies, I may have a chance. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I can't believe we've already like 36 minutes into our conversation. Time flies. So I
John, can I
do
ask a question? I'm sorry. Can I
absolutely,
ask a question for your fans? Have
absolutely.
you guys ever seen the film Zombie? It's an Italian movie. It was produced by Dario Argento. It came out, I believe, in right after Dawn, so maybe 78, 79. If you haven't had a chance to see that, please find it somewhere, whether it's on Hulu or Netflix, or download it. It is incredible. That's all
That
I'm going to have to say.
that is a movie that I've heard of. I don't. I think I might have seen it, but
John,
I think I
please see
did
it.
because I think I did. I just remember it was very gory. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. It
Yeah.
opens up with like a sailboat in the Hudson River
Uh huh.
that is abandoned, and two police officers are called in to investigate it. And again, I don't want to give it away for your fans because a lot of them have not seen it. But please, please watch that movie and then talk to us about it and let me know what your comment is. Again, it's a 70s movie. Some scenes are corny, but it's so timeless as well. There's one incredible scene where one of the actresses gets killed in one of these ways that's been never done before in any film. So I'm not going to give it away, but please, please see it.
You
You will
know,
not be disappointed.
I'm gonna rewatch that very, very soon because I want,
Good.
that is a movie that has just left my mind, and you know what? I do want to
Yeah.
rewatch that, so I will definitely be rewatching that here very soon. In the time we have left, this has been fascinating. We could go on talking for about zombies for hours, but we only do have a limited amount of time left. I want to flip over to, like I said, you have the inside word on a lot of stuff that's going on. What is going on? First of all, is the new Halloween movie, because of this pandemic we're in, is it still going to be released in October?
Yes, as far as I know, the new Halloween Kills, wrapped in late September, early October. It is in post production. It is scheduled to be released on October 16th of this year. As of now, I have not heard any pushbacks, anything to it. It's supposed to be amazing. Now, I don't know. I am the biggest Halloween fan in the world, and you can ask John about that. What's so incredible about Michael Myers and that distinguishes him from the other slashers like Freddy Krueger and Jason is that Jason, we know his motive. Jason was left to drown as a child by the camp counselors. Freddy Krueger was a child molester who was burned by the parents of the victims.
Mm-hmm.
But with Michael, we know nothing about Michael, which makes him terrifying.
Yep.
We never have a motive as to why Michael is evil. And that's why this particular film, back in 1978, with a budget of $200,000 and a crew of actors that were using their own clothes and using their own scripts and key grips and lighting people that were using extras, is so phenomenal. Still, 40 years later, the movie still stands on its own. And the fact, when I first heard that Jamie Lee Curtis and Danny McBride got together to come up with a script and they pitched it to Jason Blum, who was Blumhouse, and then David Gordon Green, who's the director. Now, David Gordon Green is a comedic director. He directed Pineapple Express. He directed The First Night. So he's not used to doing horror.
Uh huh.
So when I first saw Halloween, I was like, oh my God, this movie just picks up right from 1978. And I know you're all going to sit back and say, yeah, but I really enjoyed Halloween 2. I really love the connection that they made Michael and Laurie brother and sister. And I love, the return of Michael Myers and Revenge and all of them. Yes, they were all great. But the fact that something so terrifying to stalk you with no reason is the most horrifying thing in the world. And that's why Jamie Lee Curtis was pushed to do this film. Because she said that this movie is about PTSD. It's about a woman who was traumatized as a young child who's awaiting for her attacker to come back and get her. That's why I think the movie is so relevant now, because yes, it is Michael Myers. We're going to see blood. We're going to see guts. We're going to see gore. We're going to hear the music. But the fact that the backstory is there, that Laurie and Michael have such chemistry, is great. And this particular film, they brought back Kyle Richards to play Lindsay. They recasted Tommy Doyle to be played by Anthony Michael Hall. We're going to see Lonnie Lamb, who was a bully that actually bullied young Tommy when he was a kid. It's going to be incredible. And a little short story here, and I'll keep you guys off the phone because I know we're going to go. But I was in North Carolina in late September, and in Wilmington, Delaware, they were actually having an open call for extras for shooting Halloween Kills. And I feel stupid because I didn't get a chance to go. It was 2 hours away from where I was, but I didn't have a time frame. But they were looking for characters to come in dressed in 70s. So we're going to see a lot of flashbacks, which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about Tommy Doyle. I want to ask you about the role Tommy Doyle that you think is going to play in these movies in a second. The other night, I was having an online chat with one of our followers, TWD Horror Obsessions, and his favorite horror movie was the Rob Zombie 2007 remake. And what I explained to him was, the 2007 Rob Zombie remake on its own was very good. I didn't like the second Halloween from Rob Zombie. That got a little weird. But the first one was really good. And the reason why I explained it's not one of my top favorite Halloween movies is because what makes Michael Myers so different in the original movies is that Michael Myers is a phantom. Okay? He's not this big brooding Hulk that was portrayed in the 2007 Halloween remake, but the mystique is that he's a phantom. You turn your back and he's right there. You turn around, a split second later, he's gone. That's what made Michael Myers, to me, so scary. Now, when Rob Zombie took the movie and he made it in 2007, he sort of took away a little bit of that mystique and made Michael Myers this 6'6" brooding man played by Tyler Mane. And Tyler Mane did great. He was an amazing Michael Myers. Yeah, but it made him human. And for me, it just made him another serial killer.
Slasher, exactly. I agree with you.
Yeah, it took away the mystique. And there was a reason why Michael Myers has the name The Shape. He's a phantom. He's a phantom. He's there 1 minute, gone the next. He can kill you and disappear without you even hearing a breath. So that's why I didn't really... I liked the 2007 Halloween. I enjoyed it very much on its own. I didn't like the second Rob Zombie, Halloween 2. That whole thing with, Michael's mother, Michael's younger version, following him as hallucinations in his mind. That just got a little too weird for me. But I want to go back to Halloween Kills. And we know they're bringing back Tommy Doyle. And for those of you who don't remember, Tommy Doyle was the kid that Jamie Lee Curtis was babysitting in the original Halloween. They're bringing him back as an adult. How do you see the storyline? Or do you know, or what is your best guess? How are they going to tie his storyline back to Laurie Strode and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Well, I have a feeling what they're going to do is that we don't know if Tommy and Lindsay are still in Haddonfield. So we don't know what happened. And the film, from what I read, is going to take place. It's going to take place the next day, but then it's going to obviously time jump to another Halloween a year later, because that's the basis of these films. Mm-hmm. So at some point, there's going to be word out by either the police or the government saying that Michael Myers has escaped and so forth. And that's why I think the flashbacks are going to be important, because we are going to see how that affected two 8-year-olds. When two 8-year-olds are when a child is being attacked or is scared by an adult or somebody who has a mask and a knife, that trauma stays with you more than it does an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think bringing them back is going to be great. And I love Kyle Richards. I mean, again, I'm a big, huge Beverly Hills Real Housewife fan. So the fact that she's actually coming back as an actress and playing the same role is going to be amazing. I don't know. Now, Lonnie Lamb is perfect because they introduced Camden Lamb in the first film. So we're going to see his father come back. And his father, obviously, you can tell is like a loser and an alcoholic and so forth. So that's going to be a lot of great story coming there as well. Now, do they survive this movie to come back for the third one? I don't know. That's what's great about it. We have to see. As far as I know, Kyle Richards and Anthony Michael Warhol have been very hush-hush with the third movie, which Halloween Ends. They've been very quiet about that.
Well,
and I know that the movie...
Go on.
I'm sorry, Jenny. I know that the film is being filmed back-to-back. But again, with what's going on right now, I don't know if they hold a production for Halloween Ends. But I know Halloween Kills is done. It's just being edited. And I'm praying that soon we're going to see something on TV or something on E! News that's going to make all the fans go crazy. Me, especially me in particular.
I hope so. I really, really, really do hope so. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And I think this is a good time because all we have right now is just a teaser trailer for Halloween Kills. I do have it queued up so we can watch it. Like I said, it's no real big new scenes. It's a teaser trailer. But I'm going to go ahead and play that for you guys right now.
But John, before you play that, can I say just one more thing to your fans? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So I also heard a couple days ago that HBO, along with Jason Blum, have opted a 6-part miniseries of Hellraiser, which is exciting to me because, again, Pinhead was incredible. So if you're Hellraiser fans, look out for that. It's going to be done by Jason Blum, who's actually producing the Halloween films. It's a 6-episode arc on HBO, but there's no time frame. So I don't think we'll see it this year, but just keep an eye on it for it. It's going to be amazing.
They're not bringing back Bradley Cooper as Pinhead, although, are they?
Bradley Cooper, no. Maybe Doug Bradley. I would love to see Bradley Cooper as Pinhead. That'd be great. But Doug Bradley, yeah, no, I don't think so.
Sorry, Doug Bradley.
Because he's been recast in the other movies.
My bad. Go on.
Yeah, because I think he's a little bit up in age, but you never know. But I think they'll probably seek a young actor, somebody to kind of give them that arc to kind of start playing that character.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, and Doug Bradley, not Bradley Cooper. I apologize for that. He may have a little cameo. He may have a little cameo in the movie.
He might do it, He might do it.
And you know what? I'm all for it. Let Bradley Cooper be the new Pinhead. Why not?
Bradley Cooper was in a fantastic movie about 10 years ago called Midnight Meat Train. If anyone's ever heard of it, he plays a photographer that gets caught up with this interesting net at night. It turned out to be about ghouls. It's really good. If you want to watch something senseless but good eye candy and a great story, it's called The Midnight Meat Train, and it was one of Bradley Cooper's first films.
All right. Well, like I said, we're almost out of time, so I want to show you guys the little teaser trailer that is out right now for Halloween Kills, so here it is.
You don't believe in the boogeyman? You should.
The saga of Michael Myers and Laurie Strode isn't over. On October 16th, 2020, Halloween Kills.
Get out of here!
And on October 15th, 2021,
Happy Halloween, Michael.
Halloween Ends.
So there you guys have it. It's not a lot to go on, but that's all we have for right now. That's the little teaser trailer that's been out for a little while now with Halloween Ends. I'm sorry, Halloween Kills. My apology. Halloween Ends is the one that's coming out next year. And Marko, one last thing. For me, naming this movie that's coming out next year for Halloween Ends, is the equivalent of when they gave Friday the 13th Part 4 the name The Final Chapter.
That's correct. But again, Michael Myers, he's timeless. So I don't see Blumhouse and this company closing the chapter on him. So we'll see what happens.
Exactly. Well, Marko, you have been phenomenal as a guest, and I can't believe how the hour
Thank you,
just
guys.
flew by. Thank you
Thank,
so
thank you,
much.
guys. I had so much fun, and I hope we can do this again soon. And again, just to mention, please watch Zombie if you get a chance. You will not regret it.
You guys will not regret. I'm going to be rewatching it again as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to have you back here as a guest because we didn't even get through a quarter of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. So for everyone out there, if you want to follow Marko, his information, his Instagram username is right there on the screen. Like I said earlier, you may want to just take a quick screenshot of it because you probably won't remember that full name. And follow him. He's full of information. He's going to be posting a lot of cool stuff as well. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight for our session of Dead Talk with our special guest, Marko Vizaniaris. Until next time, guys, stay walking.